It's Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. I'm sitting here and I'm watching the See the BS this morning, or CBS mornings, and they have a piece on about something called a bankruptcy court, which personal bankruptcy, I'm not even too sure about that, but this seems to be on some other scale. And the story, the words that the humans have given me to understand this example, I suppose, or sample maybe, from like a couch potato scenario, since whatever, at tables and chairs and then couches, it gets difficult to explain. So the example is that they're out west. There are these big fires, and trees were burning and things, and then the landowners have taken the whatever, I don't know the word for it, to court. And when they settle at this bankruptcy court, they offer half cash and then half P, G, and E, those letters. And I don't know if because there's a P, G that again, that's Procter and Gamble. And then I don't know what P, G, and E means because they don't teach these things in the public. So they said, though, that people are very upset because it ties the people who have just been burned or lost everything to this P, G, and E. Now, again, this gets confusing because if I run like a paradox on this, on the one hand, if you have a cash settlement and immediate relief, that's almost like count your blessings. But then to have this stock in the future of the corpse that already burned you or responsible for the burn, however that was, that's how, is that how you keep your monetary system and your insurance policies and your working relationship with this larger beastly conglomerate that has to have some kind of label but also doesn't want to become a target for other things? That gets confusing, but I can understand that enough. But does it also give you a prioritized voting share? That's an interesting thought. In Now Your Voice, because were the most recently burned, have this more potency, but then that may open the door for people purposely trying to set these types of fires in order to have this higher ranking of some sort or whatnot. So, there is manipulation. I'm sure usually, though, they put in stipulations to avoid such things. But when I heard the way that they presented the story, with this specific example about actual trees that don't talk, don't walk, just mother of nature, and these horrific burns that happen in the the west of these interior lands, which I don't know who owns them. And then they speak on, but I don't know if they're speaking on a burn or a loss of something else, and they use this as a benchmark or a setting point in order to house these other conversations for other purpose. That's not clear at the moment. But going just on the tree situation, it's interesting. I'll put on the piece that they presented to the couch potato this morning. So this way, it's what I was mentioning. This is what actually was presented, in how people are responding to it, because the reporters have at this point, it feels like the reporters and the investigative journalists almost have a chair at the table for some reason, while I have not, I mean, I'm on the couch, but I'm in between at the moment, voicing my whatever, since I wasn't able to get where I needed to be. My legs and my knees are cracking today. If I saw a piece the other day, just recently learned that there's something called a geophone. If there was a geophone somehow placed in the home here, the the weight of the walking, it's I don't. And then I was thinking about greenhouse gas, and I'm like, does that change the atomic weight of the suspension molecules that we are immersed in, that we breathe in? I mean, we say it's air, AIR, around our body, but if the molecular weight or the atomic weight changed, it would affect the way that we balance and the way that we move through the particulates, which again could be causation for some of the heaviness in the legs, and some of the hard breathing, but also the way that the calcaneus impacts the surface earth, and then sends these shock waves up through the knees, which then causes swelling. Again, it's this derogatory cycle at the moment that I'm traversing through in the local New York area. I didn't feel it quite as much in Suffolk County. I don't know if that has to do with the winds that come off the water, to change the chemistry of the air component, so it's not as heavily, the greenhouse gas change is not as heavily impacted or known about. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, because it does, saltwater would change, in aerosol would change some of the components, but now that I'm between a sound, Long Island Sound, and a different body of water closer to mainland. I don't know if that slight impact, I mean, it's very noticeable, having been here for a while, but it was noticeable right away how difficult it was, even when I had a gym membership here, to get to the gym more than 10 minutes. I mean, I used to go 2 hours at the gym, no problem. Here in Queens, I could barely make it through 10, 15 minutes on a machine, because I just didn't have the leg strength to make it, and breathing, timing to make it through. But here's what the P, G, and E portion of whatever this means It's CBS this morning's now. My weather this morning looks like this. I'm in New York State, but I'm at the bottom. I'm at what's called downstate, so I don't have any snow. But in Binghamton, they said, this is the, they said they have snow like this. So on the same day, at the same time, they're experiencing snowfall. I have no, while there was some form of precipitation, it was not snow, it was not a chemistry of snow.
We are seeing weather extremes all over the country this morning, including that spring snowstorm in the Northeast we've been telling you about. And at the same time, there is critical wildfire danger this week in 11 western states. Dozens of homes outside Prescott, Arizona were evacuated yesterday because of a fire that started in the Prescott National Forest. And over the last few years, these wildfires have cost communities millions of dollars. Our partners at the Weather Channel are investigating those costs and the response of a major utility blamed for causing a deadly California wildfire. It's all part of a new show on the Weather Channel that's focused on climate change, and meteorologist Stephanie Abrams is one of the hosts. Always like it, Stephanie, when you're here, but what is happening? Snow in April, wildfires that they say are going out of control. Is Mother Nature just mad at us?
I'm telling you, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. I know, Gail, it's one of the things we're going to talk about starting at noon Eastern today. We're debuting a new weekday show dedicated to climate and sustainability. And they're topics that we, take to heart here at the Weather Channel because the impacts of a changing climate, they're all around us in the forms of extreme weather. Let's take fire season, for instance. Nearly 20 million are under red flag warning or fire weather watch today. And by the way, it's only April 19th.
Now, for me, where I am, this area of fire is considered the interior within my coast to coast, but it is considered west. I'm in the east from this.
Dry and windy conditions are fueling the threat for wildfires across the Southwest for really much of the week. And fire season, by the way, is getting longer and more intense. Look at the numbers here. The numbers of acres burned to date across the U.S. outpaced not only the 10-year average, look at this here, but also 2020, a season that went on to see more than...
So from the Empire State, where I am at the moment, in the Bayside, the wildfires are happening to the west of Empire State, which is still at an interior, intercontinental landmass. So could one theoretically walk there? It would take a very long time by foot. Could I get there by horse? Yes, I could, if I had one. And if I knew how to ride a horse. By carriage, by train, at this day and age, it's a possibility. They offer flight, which again, that's a hot topic, so I'm not getting into that. But rail car also, hot topic, so I'm staying away from that. But could I theoretically get there by foot or by horse? It would take a very long time. But theoretically, one could walk from where I am at Empire State to where the wildfires are burning at the moment.
10 million acres burned. Now, it gets worse here. Flames can be sparked by everything from lightning to human error or sometimes power companies, and it costs billions of dollars. This week on Pattern, our chief environmental correspondent, Dave Malkoff, investigates why some fire victims are waiting for payouts years after the flames are extinguished.
The payouts, when there have been payouts, aren't entirely checks you can cash. It's half cash and half PG&E stock.
This deal has not been a very good one for fire victims.
So let me get this straight. The people who were victims of this fire got stock from the company that was proven to have caused the fire at their own house?
It's an astounding outcome. The company that hurt them, that killed their loved ones, that destroyed their homes, to having that compensation tethered to that same company.
Have you ever seen...
But if the company itself, at the time that the fires and the bad whatever was under attack, or if management changed into a position that something happened and people were actually targeted for these burns, then tethering yourself to the company to have investigatory process to oust and to take care of the problem players in some manner through some process would be, I mean, I know some people say lucrative, but it would be, but it also would be a safety measure in the long run. But again, I don't know if that goes back to time lag and time dilation, especially based on the fact of how I've, generationally, the seeds in this area, in my own particulate case, have been harmed more than by the time lag. So that's interesting.
a bankruptcy case that is tied to stock like this?
No, never. I hope I never see one in the future. I mean, just the emotional component of that is hard.
It is, but like, if there was a problem internally with the P, G, and E, how do they flag the victims that they themselves are under some existential threat within themselves? They may seem and look like the authority, and they are, because they're the better organized, and the victims are the ones dependent upon. But how does the authoritator, if the authoritative body comes under attack or becomes a victim of some sort in mismanagement, how does the altruistic and the good within the authoritative not only protect and self-sustain their managing portion, but also some other overriding or overdrive force kicks in to protect their own who were already victims, the original victims? That's interesting in order to quantify and have the result that's needed depending on what exactly is going on in the situation. Like, I mean, I've heard before, when I was younger, they talk about the Native Indians, and they'd have a fire right in front of them, like a campfire almost, and then they would send smoke signals to either signal that it was time to gather or that something was going on, and to send whatever, or if it was a hunting party, whatever. So that's interesting. In theoretics of what could this example be used for in things that they don't talk about around this area. I don't even have a campfire with Linda and Lou, or access to steady group of some sort.
And And that's not even the most shocking part, if you can believe it. Part of what Dave Malkoff uncovered in his reporting. Tune in at noon Eastern weekdays for his full report on Pattern as we explore our planet, our future. Gail, can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it. And to hear you say that he uncovered more is also very intriguing to me.
More.
But what does PG&E have to say?
Well, there's a lot more to be told about why the pile of money, and I'm talking a huge pile of money for victims, continues to shrink by the day. And it's adding more insult to injury, frustrating the people who have lost their homes. And as for PG&E's response, Gail, they declined our request for an interview. Instead, they sent us a press release from February 2022. We even asked again a few days ago after news of additional fire cases broke. And we're going to share stories like that investigation on Pattern and more about how our changing planet is costing us billions of dollars. We'll discuss sustainable living, the green economy, and introduce you to people doing the hard work at the grassroots level to bring a positive change in spite of our changing climate.
All right, Stephanie Abrams, more questions to be answered. Glad you guys are on the case. Thank you so much. Coming up next, Vlad will have the stories we think.
So this is interesting. They're now doing something called Pattern, which I don't know, like in medical terms, they look for cancer clusters. So is this pattern that version of cancer cluster that you focus on? Again, things I would have loved to take part in, but I don't know what they call themselves in English word. In Jack and the Giant, there's the giant, the beanstalk, there's the cloud, then there's fee, fi, fo, fum. There's the fee, PHE. I don't know how I got left so far out. And this is so painful to have to walk human in this area with these things going on without even like an arm to walk with. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.